I want to get into the major controversy and scandal of many layers this week, at least on the internet. But this is a major moral scandal, too, beyond just what the internet has to say about it. There's a YouTuber named Jesse Ridgway. And prior to this, I've never actually heard of Jesse Ridgway. He does have a very big channel, 4 million subscribers. It's not the arena of YouTube in which I hang out, I guess. But he and his wife, Ashley, announced that they have recently aborted their, I'm not sure how, I thought the baby was 21 weeks old. I might be wrong on that.
That's what I saw as well. And
okay, 20. Yeah. I think he posted
20 plus. That. It was 20. It was more than 20 was what I remember. 20 to 20 something.
Okay. Anyway, they were mid-pregnancy. They aborted their child because according to genetic testing, that child had a high chance of Down syndrome. And they have been absolutely savaged on the internet all week, and rightly and understandably so. They killed their son and they posted publicly about it. Okay. We're going to get through those main points. But I do think beyond the pile-on, which again, I think is deserved, I think there are a lot of very practical lessons through this story that people can learn. And these would be good things to learn from what is a terrible story so that this sort of thing is not repeated, or at least is repeated as minimally as possible, because it is crazy how comfortable we are with the fact that this guy thinks this is a normal thing to do is very concerning for the state of our society.
It was so out there that I was even seeing people comment like, I'm pro-choice, but I'm getting Nazi vibes from this. And I'm thinking, okay, so you're fine with a woman who hooks up with a guy at a party having an abortion for convenience, but you're drawing the line here. It was just weird to see where certain people draw the line. And I've seen there are certain people taking the opposite perspective of this is the only time it's okay to have an abortion. But I think what turns a lot of people off is the fact that it was made public for content. Like, this is something that's
a big piece of it.
At a bare minimum, we shouldn't know about. And I think we're going to go down this route too, that there is a potential, and I'm not saying I'm decided on this, but it is potential. There is potential this is made up entirely, and we'll go into that.
We'll talk about that
road.
last.
Yeah,
but let's get through the story first. So Jesse Ridgway, again, he's this YouTuber with 4 million subscribers. From what I gather, it's lifestyle stuff. It's not political. I've watched almost none of it except for the stuff related to this recent abortion. But Jesse married his wife Ashley in October, so they're a newlywed couple, or at least a relatively new marriage. And they announced their pregnancy publicly on March 29th.
Hey there, Joey, it's Joel Pound with Giants here, and we're having a baby! Yay! Crazy, we just got married, it feels like.
Okay, and then a month later, on April 22nd, Jesse got the results of some genetic testing on the baby to determine gender and any potential abnormalities. And so he learns that it's a boy, and that according to testing, actually he passed it off to his brother, who was going to give him the news, but his brother reads it first, tells Jesse before his wife is informed. But as you mentioned, this was made into content. So brother sees the test results first, tells Jesse, hey, it's a baby boy, congratulations, but this also says high chance of Down syndrome, just so you know. So Jesse and the rest of the family reveal these things to his wife, and there are several notable things about this exchange, but here was that moment.
What the hell is that? Yo, hey! Yeah!
It's a boy?
I think so. All right, we can like really react. Yeah, Jeffrey said.
So this is 1 month.
Maybe you could speak to this, but there's the Down syndrome chance.
Yeah, I'll explain more after. Yeah.
For the baby, but it's like 95 out of 100% chance. Again, like even the gender stuff on these Natera tests, they say it's 99%, but if you actually read testimonials, it's not. Like there's a lot of people that it's completely the opposite gender. All of this could be just, we don't know, and then everything's fine. Because weren't you saying I was supposed to have Down syndrome?
Well, they were just, that wasn't because of any marker. That was
so
only
these are his
because
parents.
Of your femur and relationship to the size of your head. And they said that sometimes, I guess, back then was a sign.
Okay, so all we can do is just hope for a miracle at this point. Heart emoji.
So,
okay. You were saying what? What was your question?
I had seen some people claim that video was close to the 20 weeks into their pregnancy, which I guess would be an odd time to do a gender reveal. But people were claiming it was that far.
That was April 22nd, the date on that video. And I don't know the conception date for this child, but.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Because I was going to say, if it really was 20 weeks in, well, she doesn't look pregnant there, which was part of why I was suspicious of.
Well, if they're saying about 20,
but it's
as of a
what I
week
read
or
was
two ago,
miscaptioned.
it would have made it what? And a month prior to that, a month. So that would have put it at maybe 15 weeks.
Okay.
The approximate date of that, but that's guesswork. I don't know for sure.
All right, so definitely
okay.
that, but.
So several things that are important to note about that clip, that very short clip that we just saw. Number one, revealing not just the gender of the child, but important health information about this baby to your wife on camera, and then posting that as internet content. Not cool, in my opinion. Even if she's on board, okay? That is a baby. This is a serious life update. This is now a monetized show for other people, primarily.
But the order of presentation, it's a boy. Oh, by the way, 95 out of 100 times Down syndrome. It was just a bizarre way of... I don't know. It's just so. I mean, these are. I don't know. All these like viral YouTubers are psychopaths. So maybe I'm reading too much into this. But it was just a bizarre way to present that information. I mean, I suspect he had already known the results before recording, even if
he did not
otherwise.
Actually, according to the way he explained it in the video.
I know he said that, but I don't know if I buy it. Is my point. I don't know. It's just very weird, and she does. I mean, she doesn't look pregnant at all.
So you're deep down this fake.
I don't know. Like, listen,
hole.
if it really okay. So I was googling as.
Hold on. Let's take this at face value before we go that way. Okay. All right. We will give that its proper consideration at the end here. But number two.
Yeah.
Okay. So number one is making content of what is very important health news for your family. All right. Questionable choice number one. Questionable choice number two, or just what would ultimately become a questionable choice. Listen to the family processing that news there, including Jesse himself. You understand the risk of Down syndrome, but they also understand that the tests are not always correct. And how does that video close? We hope for a miracle for this baby in the end. Okay, then that understanding, I guess, changed over the course of a month or so. Another month later, at the end of May, they get results from some additional testing. And again, this testing shows trisomy 21, as in a third chromosome at position 21, otherwise known as Down syndrome. And they get these results. Ashley Ridgway cries. And again, this is a monetized moment on a YouTube channel.
Facial features, the bones, that NT looked normal, was within normal range. So we were like pretty happy about that. We did the amniocentesis just a couple days ago. They stuck a big needle right into one side and the baby actually rolled over into the needle. It was terrifying. This ultrasound, everything looked normal. Everything looked healthy.
They said everything looked normal. That's just not us just saying it.
Yes.
They said everything looked normal.
Also, one of the nurses said they have been seeing a handful of false positives from these tests. So there's another.
Are you ready?
I guess this is where we're doing it.
Pattern consistent with trisomy 21.
Okay, so they're hearing from the people giving them this information. While there are a lot of false positives, they're hearing from the ultrasound that the baby actually looks normal. We know that these things are not 100% accurate. This is that video was taken, or posted at least, something like 11 or 12 days ago, about 2 weeks. Then comes the tweet announcement on Wednesday. Jesse Ridgway, with a lengthy tweet, says he and his wife have terminated the pregnancy. He says this decision was not made lightly, and he signed up to be a parent. That's true, no matter the outcome, but I guess it does matter the outcome. He researched Down syndrome, and he learned many supposed truths, supposed facts. 50% of these babies will have heart defects. 75% will have hearing challenges. 50% will have vision problems or other complications. The miscarriage risk is 50%. In fact, he was so worried about these health complications. He said he told the New York Post he didn't want to have to bury his son someday.
Well, you just did.
Yeah, but they don't see it that way. Like he might possibly die because of health complications, so we better kill him first. My wife might have a miscarriage, so we better kill him first.
Yeah.
And understandably, and again, you read this long tweet. Thank you for understanding with a heart. Okay. People did not understand, and there was significant backlash to this post. You can read thousands upon thousands of replies to it. And in response to what, is there some meanness? Is there some vulgarity? Are there probably threats even? There are. But fundamentally, this is responding to the termination of a child's life, an unborn child's life, which they refer to as an unborn child in another tweet. Like, this is the child that was not given the opportunity to be born because of a decision that was made. You can talk about how people are mean or vulgar or whatever else. It doesn't get around that fundamental principle. But Jesse doubles down with another long tweet a day later saying that he and his wife have been subjected to a deeply disturbing side of humanity. They've been called evil murderers and threatened. And it's all the replies in response to his tweet that are depraved, not the act of murdering their son. So he says it's especially troubling that people are using God or Jesus as a basis for their opinions, as though, God and Jesus love abortions and would give a big thumbs up to aborting a possible Down syndrome baby. But most preposterously, he says to those who are telling him, well, I would have kept the kid. He says, good for you. You can do that. That's great. You can do all those things, which of course is not the way that murder works. Okay. Yeah. It does nothing for the murder victim. Oh, you don't like murder? Well, don't commit a murder. Well, no, murder is an inherent wrong and the victim deserves justice. And then he calls, what's the other thing in here? He calls a lot of his harshest critics trashy ass. I can't believe so many trashy ass people have significant followings. Okay. Mirrors should be consulted, probably. Long story short, they killed their kid, but what's troubling is people's reaction to them killing their kid. He asks why a couple getting an abortion in 2026 is even news. Well, because you made it news, dummy.
Idiot. God, what a dumbass.
But we're the trashy asses, so guilty as charged. The couple then appears on TMZ to play the victim further.
It's not
we felt we still needed to be transparent with our audience, and then it's taken on a life of its own outside of our bubble.
And I feel like sharing what we have, thus far is something I will never regret. I don't regret, sharing our truth and our journey to starting a family. This is such a common thing that happens, and I feel like if you were a fly on the wall with anybody receiving any type of news like this, that we reacted the same as everyone else. We just decided to share it.
With the death threats and everything, it has been shocking. Close people to us, very judgmental, religious based, saying we're going to burn in hell. We deserve to die.
I don't deserve to be a mother because of, the decision that we just made.
We've seen the darkest side of humanity through this process. We'd never imagined confronting having a child with Down syndrome. You don't think it'll happen to you, and then it does, and you like to think you know what you do in that situation, just given the information that you know, but there was so much that we were unaware of and how hard it was.
Okay, I have a lot to say about that segment. So, Matt, if you have something to say, I'm going to offer you the floor first, because I'm going to go on and on and on about that one.
I mean, I will say he is correct in that, you actually don't know how you would react until you are in the situation. It's just...
Disagree.
Well, I'm just saying for the overwhelming majority of people, like you might think you'd behave. Yeah,
they're trashy ass.
I'm not disagreeing with
right.
I just mean like there is a certain percentage of people that are condemning them that if they were in the situation probably would change their tune. And the reason I say that is because we know the stats that I think it's 80 or 90% of babies that have Down syndrome are aborted. That's a far greater percentage than the share of the population that identifies as pro-choice. I'm not saying that makes it okay. I'm just saying, he he is right. There probably are some hypocrites throwing stones at them, but he's still a trashy ass. He's still in the wrong. But there are hypocrites attacking him, I guess.
Speaking of fake, I wonder if those stats are even true and where they come from.
The problem is it would have to be from polling data. It's not like there's an actual directory keeping track of that. So
now I don't care what that lady says about not regretting implicitly the abortion, but explicitly she's talking about, I will never regret sharing our truth in public in this way. Oh, won't you though? You will, as a matter of fact, you will be haunted by this decision for the rest of your life. You will wonder who that son was and why you made the decision to eliminate him from this world. And beyond that, you will always wonder why you made that a matter of other people's business, indeed self-promotion or possibly income or whatever your motives were. When you say you have no regrets, nobody believes that, and everybody knows that's not true. Yeah. Okay, so that's point one. Point two, when she says, people say I don't deserve to be a mother. Well, if you don't protect your children, you kind of don't deserve to be a mother, or you're doing a very bad job. That's what being a mother means. It means protecting your children above anything, above everything. You broke rule 1 intentionally, and you're going to have to grapple with that. They complain about the darkest side of humanity. The darkest side of humanity is not people being mean to you on the internet, although that does suck sometimes. Been there many times. The darkest side of humanity is something close to murdering an innocent baby. That would be a pretty dark side of humanity, which you just did by your own decision-making. And to your point, nobody can ever say what they would do until it happens to them. All right, I dismiss that point. I'm kind of half joking, half serious. Mm-hmm. When I say disagree, I mean, when I became a father, it was very clear to me there is nothing any doctor could ever say to me that would get me to abandon or kill my children. However, I had also thought about this a lot before I had made the decision to become a parent, to become a father. Mm-hmm. And so the lessons that need to be taken away from this are for everybody to do that sort of thinking, so that if this moment does confront you, you are not scrambling. You are not trying to you're not Googling like Jesse trying to figure out what's right and what's wrong here, because you know the moral truth, because you've thought about this at length. That's why we all have to think critically about these things before we're put in position to get this so catastrophically wrong. That moment, the moment that they were in, which the moment I can sympathize with, it would be devastating news. It'd be very difficult. And I would have to think hard about how I would manage this. How am I going to manage my resources? What about my other kids? What is the life of my wife and I going to be like in the future? How are we going to get through this? You have to confront that moment with moral clarity, moral truth. You can't be scrambling to think what the right thing to do is in that moment, because it's very stressful already. And that's why I want to talk about these principles, these practical principles that we should all learn from this incident that don't really have anything to do with dunking on these people and calling them trashy asses on X, even though I think a lot of that is deserved. Now, most importantly, and most obviously, I think, the core of this scandal, human life is valuable according to what? It is valuable according to God-given value, according to value assigned to it, given to it by its creator, not value that we determine, not value that we judge or say, well, I think that life is worthwhile, but this one isn't. The creator of that life gave it value, not you, and it has the same value to that creator and that creator's purpose, whether it is a perfectly healthy child or whether it is a child with very serious health problems. You must be clear on that point before you make the decision to become a parent or engage in the sort of activities that could lead you to become a parent, because that is the natural consequence. Your job, your moral obligation, is to protect that life according to God's value for it, not according to your own convenience. They are making a judgment that is according to their own convenience, not according to the value that God has given that unique life. And if you don't, a lot of people are turned off by religious language. All right. When I say God in this context, yes, I am a person of Christian faith. Yes, I mean it in that context. But if you're not, I mean it in the context of whatever created the life as we understand it. Unless you believe that it was all one big coincidence and there are no moral implications to, or no moral meaning to life at all, in which case there's no problem with murder. If life has no inherent value, just shoot your neighbor in the face and there's no problem with it. If life does have inherent value, the question is from what? And it comes from the origin, the creator of that life. That's what I mean when I use the word God that many don't like in this context.
I guess I'm sorry, go ahead. I'll leave.
I have like a million more things to say. You can't interrupt me now. Okay.
Sorry. Please go ahead.
Okay. All right. You're retracting. All right. Keep your point.
I
don't want to cost you.
I thought you were done. I'm sorry.
Many things to say about this being fake.
I have literally one thing to say. It was a dumb throwaway joke.
In all seriousness, do you want to? Oh, okay. If you want to offer it now, that's fine.
I was going to say, like, at least on the bright side, this kid doesn't have to have 2 retards for parents. So
bingo.
That's a plus, you know.
Who's the real retard here?
The kid would have been the least retarded person in that family.
Well,
anyway,
okay.
I'll let you continue.
That is the only moral truth that matters. Again, what is the source of the value of that life? Is there something inherent about the value of that life, something God-given, or is it just whatever we decide? If I decide it has value, then it has value. Okay. Without that, a proper understanding in that moral calculation, any other argument in favor of what they're doing, it falls apart. And that's why their arguments sound so ridiculous. They constantly make this appeal to what you were talking about, commonality, as though commonality is morality. They repeat in several different contexts the exact stats that you described. Something like 90% of couples, parents who get this news about their child end up deciding on abortion. Number one, I don't know if that's true. Maybe it is. Number two, even if that is true, the fact that some people do something even in large volume does not make it right. If I kill a person and at trial, my defense is, well, there's like 1,000 other murders that happen. What's the big deal with this one?
No, my defense.
Every single one is an injustice that matters for its own sake and must be brought to justice. This is really that defense of 90% of people do it. It's just a dressed up, science appealing version of saying, if of your mom's question, if your friends jumped off a bridge, would you do it too? No, you would not, because there's something wrong with jumping off the bridge, no matter how many people do it.
I didn't mean to imply that it was okay because 90% did it. I was just meant because he was saying, there are people that don't know what they would do in the situation, and I was like, well, I'll grant you that, given the fact that it does unfortunately seem to be very common. But that's just the context I meant.
I know that you're not justifying. I'm just bringing it up because you had referenced it. That's all.
Yeah.
So the fact that a certain behavior is common doesn't make it right. We have to be very keen on that as well. I mentioned this point earlier, but I want to emphasize it a little bit more. Being a parent means putting your child and your child's interest first, or at least above yours, always. When you make the commitment to becoming a parent, which is more than just the decision of, I'm going to become a parent today. Again, it's participating in the behavior, that sexual act that itself carries the inherent possibility of becoming a parent. You are committing your life to the protection and advancement of that life, again, according to its inherent value, independent of you. Jesse Ridgway, when he says, well, this isn't what I signed up for because I Googled what Down syndrome means. Yes, it is. It absolutely is. Just like you take a vow to your wife in sickness and in health, you owe protection to every life that you create. From this day forward, after you become a parent, and yes, I do mean that from the moment of conception for that life, every decision that you make for the rest of your life will be forever changed. It must be considered in a new framework. What is best for your son? What is best for your daughter? Not what is best or most convenient for me as a parent. It's exactly what you sign up for in marriage. It's exactly what you sign up for when that relationship, by its nature, creates new life. And then there's the whole concept of the genetic testing, which, in my opinion, it's not only that it's flawed, it's that it's kind of a scam. And I say this with particular emphasis for first-time parents. If your experience is like mine, when you go to the doctor, you go to whatever healthcare setting you do with a new pregnancy, these healthcare professionals, they're going to advise you to get this genetic testing. And as I've mentioned before, the doctor in our case advised us to get this sort of genetic testing to, quote, inform our decisions. And I remember scoffing in my own mind, like, I don't know what you're talking about, lady. There's nothing you can say to me that's going to cause me to abandon or kill my kid, but whatever, move on with our day. So we opted out of the testing. We never did it. We haven't done it for any of our 3 boys, and we're not going to do it for any of our future kids if we are fortunate enough to have them.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with doing the moral, or there's not anything morally wrong with doing the testing itself. Some of it does have potential risks, which you should understand. But I would say understand that with the testing, many of these medical personnel will tell you or strongly suggest that you should act one way or another. They want to inform the choices, as happened in our case. They will tell you things like, I assume they probably told the Ridgeways in this case. 90% chance of terrible things, 99% chance of horror, 99% chance of suffering, whatever. Better eliminate that risk by passing the entire burden of it off to your kid by killing him, to relieve yourself of the burden, because that's a responsible thing to do somehow. I'm guessing that's what happened with the Ridgeway. It seems like they hadn't thought a lot about this stuff ahead of time, and there were certain pieces of information that were given to them that unfortunately clouded their judgment because they had not thought about these things on moral terms in great depth before that moment presented itself. But as you had mentioned, the other thing about the genetic testing, these prenatal tests, if you get them, none of them are certain. You heard Jesse himself say, gender is not, the gender test is not 100% right. Accurate.
Yeah. Oh, it's also all these false positives the doctors told about. All right, let's kill it.
So it's tragic that Jesse understood that the truth that they're not 100% accurate. He understood that right away, and then he acted as though the worst was a certainty. And even if the worst is true, it doesn't justify the behavior right away.
And they waited 3 or 4 months before getting the abortion. And I know it's binary that if abortion is either wrong or it's not, and we both believe it's wrong, but. And I'm not basing this on anything scientifically, but it does feel like it gets progressively more wrong the longer you wait. I
would say that's probably not true on principle, but I understand why people think that
to me,
way.
I feel like an abortion after 30 weeks just feels way more evil than after 5 weeks, even though it's the same end result. And this is my a facts versus feelings scenario that I'm on the wrong side of. But I don't know. To me, it just feels even worse that you would even put it off till longer, till it's more developed and all that.
Even if this boy did have Down syndrome, many people first of all, his life has value inherently regardless, but many people with Down syndrome are highly functional, at least, relative to their condition. They have jobs, okay? They live with relative independence. And regardless of whatever condition this boy may have had, and I emphasize may because we don't even know, it's entirely possible they killed a perfectly healthy baby boy. Whatever his condition may have been, a parent's job fundamentally is to protect your child no matter their weaknesses. Not say, that one's too weak, the hell with him, and kill him. Another point here, and then I'll wind down because clearly I have a million things to say about this. You had mentioned this. You don't need to make everything public, okay?
Seriously.
Not everything in your life needs to be public or should be public. It doesn't mean that it's fine to abort as long as you keep that private. That's of course not the argument. It's just clearly some things are meant to be experienced within your family because they're moments that are of significance to the family. They don't exist as moments of entertainment for strangers, for clicks or dollars. And those moments would include news about a pregnancy. And I'm not saying that you could never tell people publicly, but it's weird, really bizarre. Like you said, if that is as presented, that the information was newly learned to Jesse and his wife, Ashley, on camera for content. Yeah. That is a very bizarre way to handle that. And if all of this is as presented, they didn't just kill their kid. They made a public show of the killing itself for attention, for money, form of ad revenue, whatever the motivations were. If your family in its nature, fundamentally that way, is a show for other people, I guess I'm not surprised this family appears to be a little bit dysfunctional. Yeah. Your family should be something of very high value for its own sake, not as a form of entertainment for other people. And so to get back to the main point, how you evaluate what you post online, you have to think about what is the purpose for which this thing exists. Your family itself does not exist primarily for online entertainment. So these big moments should not be handled first and foremost for online entertainment. If you wouldn't let a stranger sit in on the moment you and your wife get health information about your child, why would you let people sit in on it virtually on the internet? It's a very bizarre thing to do. And in a little bit this actually is totally serious. Because it's not just this couple that deserves the criticism, though of course they deserve pretty much all of it. There is a lot of moral confusion created. There's a lot of moral confusion in the reaction to it that created a very interesting tweet I saw from a woman named Allie Voss. She wrote Thursday, the Venn diagram. The Venn diagram between people who think you should get fired for using the R word and people who think you should be able to euthanize your child if it has Down syndrome is almost a circle.
Bingo.
There was so many like cases tangential to this where people had just like the most weirdly contradictory views. Like someone was going through tweets of people that were condemning them for it, who up until the day prior were like tweeting praising Hitler, and I'm like, all right, at least they draw the line somewhere, I guess. But it is weird how you see all these contradictory stances. Or as I mentioned earlier, the people that are for abortion for any inconvenience whatsoever, but then also drew the line here, or you'd see the reverse of it where they're only okay with it for here. But it brought out every possible stance for and against.
The fundamental idea here is a lot of people who are highly offended by the use of the word retarded are fully supportive of the so-called right to kill a child with a disability before it's born on the basis of that disability, real or feared.
Well,
so just an incredible moral inversion here. Offending people with words is worse than killing them. But
it's like what Louis C.K.'s bit on the word faggot, in that you can use the word retard, but if I'm talking about someone with Down syndrome, they're a developmentally disabled individual. I would never actually use that word to describe. Then it's wrong. It's like with faggot. I can call you a faggot. I can't call a gay guy a faggot. It's wrong.
Try. You see what happens.
We'll see. I don't want Graham Klattner to do anything to me.
One other thing I'll say is that that I'm someone who's changed my mind on this. As longtime listeners will know, I used to have a generally pro-choice perspective. But one thing I've always been clear on in my own mind, I used to think, well, I would never do it. But is it my business? What other people? Why would I never do it, though? Why have I always been clear in my mind, I would never do this to my own child? Why? On what basis do I say that? According to what moral principles? And it is impossible to consider that question in depth. Why wouldn't I do this without arriving at the conclusion that there is something inherently morally wrong with it? And thus, no, other people shouldn't be doing it either. Yes, justice should be served to those children who are murdered in this way. If you would not do this, why not? And how is it possibly okay for other people to do it? Again, I'm not saying that everything you wouldn't do is a moral wrong that should be criminalized, but I don't see how you can answer that question. I wouldn't do this because, without necessarily arriving at the conclusion that it is in fact murder. There is no way to explain it otherwise. And so you have to grapple with the moral truth that comes with that.
Yeah. When I chuckled 30 seconds ago, it wasn't at you. It was at a comment calling me a homo, just to clarify.
Oh, well.
But anyway, I guess to close this out, I think
you want to handle the fake thing? We got to do that too.
Here, it's okay. It's not a very strong case. It's just possible. They have a ton of clickbait videos where there's like 5 different videos about his girlfriend breaking up with him over multiple years, and it's the girl I believe is with still. Just a ton of sensationalist content. Now, obviously, this would be a whole different category, but I thought it was at least worth maybe entertaining. I was misled when I actually first sent you this, and that the video of the gender reveal, someone miscaptioned it and claimed it was 20 weeks in which case you would look a bit differently there. I mean, if you're 4 weeks pregnant and not showing, that's plausible. So yeah. I would say it's a single-digit probability, but if this actually is fake, I mean, if we need to boost viewership to the show, I can manufacture some sort of scandal.
I am now in favor of abortion.
Yes,
I'll do the Home Alone face for clicks.
I'll do the soy jack pointing back.
Yeah.
All right, that's how that will manufacture a scandal. Then
now, these are weird
watch the show.
To the point of people who think this is fake. I mean, there's a lot of sensationalized clickbait stuff. My girlfriend is done with me. My mom has a tumor. I had surgery. Now, I think I don't actually think all of this is fake. I think this is a guy who, for whatever reason, whatever has warped his morality, this is a guy who will put anything in his life on the internet for money or fame or clicks or views, and just lacks a moral core. That's my guess at what's. I bet these are all mostly or partially true. It's just opportunistically capitalizing on them, trying to collect those clicks. And this latest one is the ultimate result of that. So the lesson for all of us is moral core first, internet later. And maybe those things don't overlap at all, that to have a moral core means logging off.
Yeah.
And in a lot of contexts, it probably does. But think thoroughly about where you stand on the value of life. And I know I'm kind of preaching to the choir because many of you, probably all of you, were quicker to this than I was. But you must properly understand that inherent value of life before this question confronts you in this way, or you do risk getting it catastrophically wrong in the way that this family has gotten it catastrophically wrong. And if there is any sympathy I can have, it's the situation that they were put into with the unfortunate circumstance of probably not thinking it through before that situation was realized. I hope that one day they'll be able to confront the reality of what they did, and only through that could there be any sort of justice for this kid is its own, that's I don't know what state this happened in, but that's probably not going to happen.
No.
The bare minimum is honesty about what just happened here and discouragement from others for taking the same path. So we'll see if that ever happens. But I guess I'll have to wait for another clickbait video title to see if I've changed my mind. Yeah.
Worst decision of my life.
Yeah, we'll see.
They all have the same thumbnails. I guess they work, but no, it's a truly horrible story, horrible people. Everything about it's horrible. And I don't think they'll ever be able to admit to themselves what they did do, because it's just too painful of a realization to admit.
You would be haunted every day. On the one hand, it's like, how could you not come to that conclusion? Think about this. But on the other, to your point, the coming to the conclusion that you murdered your son. I mean, looking at my 3 sons and thinking I supposedly could have done that to them with no moral implications, it's obviously not true. And so, to your point, it's strange to think, how could you not reach that conclusion? But the pain associated with reaching that conclusion is so great.
To yourself what you did, yeah.
That those heels do dig in deep, man.
Even like when I say something retarded, I even make excuses. I'm like, I didn't have coffee this morning. It's gonna happen, So
I'm so
something
highly
of
regarded.
something
How
of
could
that
this be?
gravity.
Yeah.
It's it's tough.